Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another Kano Tryharding Modern video. Today, I will be playing the same Tron list. I didn't feel like updating it today. I apologize, this video is going to be coming out a day late, but I got really into working on another project over the weekend, and I was having a lot of fun, and that doesn't happen for me incredibly often, that I'm able to kind of get absorbed in doing something else. And you may or may not end up seeing it on this channel. We'll see how far I can take it. And I don't want to talk about it too much, because if I get too invested in talking about it, I'll get discouraged actually working on it. So I'm going to kind of keep that a little bit of a secret. But between that and between my new job being a little bit more stressful, I kind of got thrown off on my my recording schedule and all that. So we gotta get that reclaimed. I think what I'm going to do is I have a extended break for Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I only say that because I have a lot of European viewers. Hi, European viewers. But I have, 2 extra days off, so I'll have a 4-day weekend, and I've got a pile of deck requests that I have to get through. I have my 2 Patreon lists. I have a deck list I was requested to work on by Bone Daddy, one of my Kano specials. I've got a couple of deck redemptions from channel points that I need to get to, so that's at least 5 decks I've got to get recorded, and hopefully you'll see a little bit of an accelerated schedule for the holiday season, especially because I'm not traveling this year. I'll be staying in my home base area for now. But I also discovered that I'm really, really dumb. So I've been kind of I've had this, I'm going to talk for a second before this whole thing gets started. So apologies, probably skip to another minute or 2 in if you don't want to hear me ramble prior to the gameplay. But I discovered that I'm really dumb. I've been kind of feeling fatigued, and even though I've backed down on my recording schedule, I've backed down on my my other things outside of work. It turns out that I don't know how to relax, period. And it very, very infrequently am I capable of doing so effectively. Like, I can kind of power down a little bit, but I get into this zone of oh, I should be working, why am I not working, blah blah, this and that. And this desk where I sit is it's where I do my professional work. It's where I do my unprofessional work, which is this channel and side programming projects and stuff that I work on. And it's where I spend so much of my day that it's kind of unreasonable. And this is a mulligan, by the way. This is not. We will keep this. I spend an inordinate amount of my day at this desk, and it turns out that I was actually trying to sit down and relax while I was here. And if I'm just in the living room, which is technically adjacent to this room if you count the stairs as being an adjacency, it's too easy to think about being down here and think about, doing work and stuff like that. So that I can't really relax in the living room. And that's generally where I would normally relax. So we're going to start Mind Map and pass the turn. We are against a Lurrus deck, so I'm expecting hand hate. The good news is we should be able to assemble Tron. This also could be hammer time, and if it's hammer time, we're going to have a bad time. But, yeah, so, I was just oh man, I would sit here, and if I would try to relax, if I would try to watch YouTube, the hours would just tick by because I would never get up. There's no natural light down here, so I'm a literal basement-dwelling ginger. And I would just I would get this fatigue of time passes too quickly. I never have this relaxation thing that I'm supposed to be having as a human being, because human beings can't just work their entire life. And I would feel like I never got away from it enough. And so today I randomly just decided I've got a dumb mobile game that I want to play. It requires literally 0 brain power, and I like playing it, but I never actually really get the chance to play it. So, we've got to get a power plant. But, and I was thinking about this to myself the other day. I was like, why do I never play that mobile game? And the fact of the matter is, I'm always sitting at my desk. And if I'm at my desk, I'm working in one capacity or another. We're going to all as dust to kill that Voidwalker, because that Voidwalker is incredibly dangerous. Last time I played against red-black, like mid-range with Luris, we got a Karn Voidwalker in game 3, and that was just GG. And yeah, so I went upstairs, and I went up to my bedroom, and I just clicked YouTube on the TV, started playing my mobile game, because, you know, if I'm sitting at my computer desk and I play my mobile game, then it's like, well, I should be doing something else. I should be, you know, doing something more brain-intensive because I'm at my work desk, right? And even though that wasn't like a conscious feeling, it was still like the expectation. And so now I have 8 mana, and I have another Mind that gives me 10 mana if I draw Kozilek or if I draw Ulamog. So we're going to Sylvan Scrying, and we're going to go get the Sanctum, because that way if we draw a threat, then we have a redundant threat, and if we draw a 10 mana threat, we can still cast it. So then we'll pass. But yeah, so I just went up to my room, sat down for an hour. It was an hour or 45 minutes. Just flicked on my mobile game, cuddled up with Porter. I gave him something to entertain him for the first half hour. I gave him a chew toy that, you know, he doesn't normally get to enjoy, because he has to be somewhat supervised when he has it. And I just clicked on YouTube, played my mobile game, had a good time. Like, and it's silly, because it's like, Kano, you've been alive for 27 years, or however chat decides to count my birthday, and like, you haven't figured that out yet. And it's like, no. It's like, I guess it's kind of a workaholic mindset, which is one reason why I was like capable of recording a YouTube video every day for longer than a year, right? Okay, we are definitely exiling that Ragavan. But like, I don't know how to relax. And you know, even if I were to drink alcohol or become intoxicated for one reason or another, that doesn't do it either. Like, I don't relax because I am fully capable of performing, work duties for myself while intoxicated. And frequently, you know, when I'm programming for myself, I'll have a couple beers and whatnot, and so like that, I don't naturally relax by doing that either. So this is probably going to be an unholy heat killing that Platinum Angel, and it is. We're holding a Wurmcoil, so odds are my opponent's going to make me discard it. Perhaps I shouldn't have sacked that Sanctum until I had a second card in hand, but you know, who knows? This is probably going to be the Voidwalker replay, and then they're going to follow it up with a Thoughtseize so they can exile it to Voidwalker. But yeah, so important message, important PSA from, you know, Kano today is, if you're spending a lot of time at the grind and, you don't have any imminent deadlines, as in something you need to get within like the next 8 hours that will cripple your career or cripple your life, take 45 minutes for yourself and sit down away from anything that's work related, and that means personal work too. If you're tired, oh my god, they can exile it. If a card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile it. Okay, never mind. Why is this card one-sided and so good? Oh, it's a Modern Horizons 2 card? This is a surprise to no one? Oh, God, they're just going to play my Wurmcoil Engine. Then what the hell am I going to do about that? I mean, I'd have to draw a bigger, badder threat, right? But, yeah, take 45 minutes for yourself. Relax. Chill out. Physically relocate yourself away from anything that's work-related or personal project-related. And just hang out for a bit. Okay, they were just taking a while. I was like, what is happening? I'm still struggling without the audio cues because I'm so used to listening to them, but with the current stream software that I have, the cues get recorded in this like awful overlapping fashion, and it's just not acceptable. So I've currently got the game on mute, which is why I have to talk a little bit more to make sure that my automatic editing script catches everything. I'm exiling my own Wurmcoil Engine off the battlefield with Karn. I really hope they don't have a lightning bolt. I hope that Karn can stick around for at least one turn. But they do. Not even Karn is safe from lightning bolt. If you know my channel, and it's kind of a meme, if I'm at 3 life or less and my opponent discovers an untapped red mana source, I die. Like, that's straight up how it works. So not even Karn is immune to that curse. The good news is, with a Wurmcoil in exile, I can wish for it off of my other Karn. If I draw my 4-mana Karn, which is nice. So opponent's starting the Bauble loop to draw extra cards. Do I have a better spell in exile that I could go for here? You know, Chalice, putting Chalice on 1 is kind of a big deal, but they do have Kolaghan's Command. I think if I had 1 more mana, I might go for... Or I'd have to have another Tron land. I would go for Sundering Titan, but I don't. So we are going to... Actually, hang on. I don't have enough mana for Wurmcoil, do I? Yes, I do. I just can't math. Okay. Play Karn. Gonna wish with Karn. We're gonna get Wurmcoil Engine and play it. And I went for the one out of exile rather than the one in my sideboard because I don't want my opponent to know anything about my wish board if I can avoid it. Just kind of the way things are. Yeah, it's, you know, I kind of hate to keep talking about non-magic things, but this is sort of my opportunity to vent a little bit when I'm feeling a little frustrated or anything. They have another 1-mana red removal spell. Just triple Unholy Heat, and it gets exiled because of Douthie Voidwalker. This deck is good. Like, Rakdos Luris is just all... It's everything that I used to hate Jund for. It's all the best cards put into a single deck. And so it's more Jund than Jund somehow without being Jund. Decks like that frustrate me a lot, but the Inquisition themselves to put Kroxa into the grave. They have a Terminate and a Turok. We draw a Platinum Angel, which is going to get terminated, but it's worse if it's not on the board. Because they would just make us discard it to a Kroxa. So opponent has to choose between Kroxa and Terminate this turn. It's not really a choice, honestly, but... yeah, but like I said, this is kind of like my opportunity to vent a little bit and have people listen. In some ways, you know. But, like, I was kind of dreading recording today, and a little bit yesterday, I think. And yesterday I was like, I'm just going to put it off because I've got this other thing that I really actually want to do. But I was kind of dreading recording today, and I was putting it off. And, you know, I just sat down, decompressed, was like, if I get to it, I get to it. If I don't, I don't, and everything's fine. And I got to tell you, I feel so much better. I was like, all right, now I can go record. I just needed to have that moment of decompression where I didn't think about it for 45 minutes. And I need that a lot more often than I feel like I've been giving it to myself, so which is never. So, you know. And back to the game. Now, opponent reanimated Kroxa. They dumped a bunch of stuff out of the grave. They still have Delirium. They are attacking with Shadow because they can. We need to... Let's see. We have 10 mana. We really need to draw an Ulamog. That's going to be like our one way actually out of this, potentially. So opponent's going to cast either our Wurmcoil or our Karn, and it's almost certainly going to be our Wurmcoil. We need to draw our heavy hitters here, because if we don't, we're just in huge trouble. Sack Star for green, we get another land. Go to combat. They're holding Terminate. They have 15 damage, plus 3 is 18. Alright, so we're actually just dead. But we didn't draw a threat when we needed to. Losing game 1 against the Luris deck is actually quite bad. This matchup gets significantly harder for us. So we definitely need the Forces and the Wilts. All His Dust is coming out. Platinum Angel's coming out entirely. I can't remember if I was supposed to keep Platinum Angel in versus this deck or not, and I feel like the answer is no, because it just dies too easily to all of their removal and then some. It's just a 7-mana 4/4 that flies, and that's not enough. Kozilek is a bit ambitious, so we're going to drop Kozilek, and I need to cut one more card, and the question is what? Karn is kind of bad versus them, so I'm going to take out a Karn. I do want to keep an All His Dust in the deck. I think it's important to be able to have that extra board wipe more than just the Ugins. Alright, we'll play first. This is definitely a mulligan. This is also pretty bad. Let me see if my opponent mulligan. They kept 7 and they're on the draw. I cannot keep this hand. If I start Sphere, they take Scrying, and then we're in a bad spot. This hand is also not great. We're going to 4. We're going to 3. Alright. We are going to keep Sphere, Forest, Mine. Start Mine Sphere. This way, if they lead on Thoughtseize or Inquisition, they can't take our last card. This is going to be an uphill battle. It's almost unwinnable. It's not impossible to win. It's just very unlikely that we do. Opponent leads on Den of the Bugbear. Hardcast Ragavan. We draw Karn. I'm going to play a forest and cycle for green, because if I draw Warping Wail, I want to be able to Warping Wail. I did not draw Warping Wail. Pass the turn. Opponent goes to combat, attacks us with Ragavan. They exile an Urza's power plant, they make a treasure. They play Graven Cairns. They Inquisition, so they completely whiff. Probably playing a Dragon's Rage Channeler here. Alpine Moon. Okay, so we're going to name a Tron land we don't have. Urza's Tower, that's fine. So they know what's in our hand. Assembling Tron is kind of secondary to just playing lands right now. Draw Karn Liberated. Players is mine. Pass the turn. So we draw another land. We can play Karn, who will almost certainly die to just about anything. I would put us at like less than 5% to win this game, simply because we got so many bad openers in a row, which is a possibility when you play Tron, even, you know, no matter how unlikely. The last 2 leagues, we've had actually really, really good mulligan luck. And so far, at least this game, we haven't. Game one was okay. We just kind of got outgrinded. Okay, we're getting Thought Seized, so there goes Karn. I think the only land that I would be willing to give up on is a Blast Zone. Like, I kind of just want one for setting up for Tron. We play Star. Same logic. We're going to crack it immediately, sacking this way. So if we draw Warping Wail, we can answer Ragavan. We draw a Power Plant, which is nice. It is another land. In absence of getting Tron, at least playing lands is the next best case. You know, of course, as long as your opponent's clock isn't too fast to actually just kill you. We're gonna try and tough this one out, but I'm pretty sure that round 1 is a loss here. Opponent plays a land. They are to the point of animating Den of the Bugbear. So they get a Goblin. They get a Chromatic Star, which they can actually play if they want to. And it can potentially give them an extra card. Okay. We draw another Mine. Play a Mine. We cannot top deck Tower to get out of this. And they are to the point that they're going to be able to animate a Den of the Bugbear every turn. So we're going to be taking 6 this turn, and we'll be dead to basically everything. If the last card in my hand was a land and I drew Wurmcoil, there would be a slim possibility I could get out of this. But Unholy Heat is just too good of a removal spell against us, and in game 1, our opponent drew 3 of them. So, alright, we go to 3. We are dead to Bolt. Is the meme real? I mean, the meme's not real yet, but we're dead to anything, so. Alright, well, I'll see you guys in round 2. Don't think I played too poorly, even though I was talking about other things. So, I'll see you guys in round 2. Alrighty, and welcome to round 2. We got 4 lands, 2 Tron lands, and a card to cycle with. So, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to keep this on 7 on the draw. It's not guaranteed, but it's also not the worst hand I've ever seen. We draw an Ancient Stirrings, which does make our Chromatic Star a lot nicer. Alright, so it looks like we are against Soul Sisters or Life Gain. Because of the unique opportunity afforded to me here, I'm going to kill the Serra Ascendant immediately. That's one of their major payoffs. You never know, I could always top deck like a god and just get the last Tron piece, but opponent immediately follows up with a Stoneforge Mystic, making me feel foolish. We draw Surgical, so let's go ahead and sack Star for green. Oh my god. Alright, players is mine. I can play Karn. I do not have Pithing Needle. And I cannot stop Stoneforge Mystic from activating. So the question is, what do I do with my 6 mana? I could play Liquimetal Coating, Chalice. I think taking Liquimetal Coating and forcing them to do something about it is probably the way to go. Because that stops them from doing several weirder plays, I guess. So we'll take Coating. Pass the turn. Stop on their upkeep. Shut off Field of Ruin. Okay. Opponent's going to put Kaldra onto the battlefield. Kaldra, of course, has haste and will be able to kill Karn here. But that's fine, as long as Ancient Stirrings finds us something useful. If Ancient Stirrings finds us something useful, we're good to go. They have Ghost Quarter too? Oh my god. All my basic lands are in my hand. Oh my god. I can't believe they also had Ghost Quarter. I'm going to Surgical now. I want to see their hand. Speaker of the Heavens, Squadron Hawk, Winds of Abandon, and Wrath of God. Plus the full 8 Field of Ruin effects. Oh, no. Oh, we drew Expedition Map. So, I mean, like, we can... As long as my opponent doesn't top deck a land. If they top deck a land, then we're going to get Field of Ruined. Our best draw, provided, of course, we don't get Ghost Quartered, would be an Ugin. Our next best draw would be a Karn Great Creator. Okay, thank God it was a tap land. Squawk. Good old Squadron Hawk. You know what? I respect this opponent. They're playing mono white. It's a tough build to actually play in Modern right now, which is why we are meeting them in the losers bracket. And you know what? If they win, more power to them. We're going to take Urza's Tower, untap. We draw All Is Dust, which thankfully does stop this Cauldron problem we currently have. I'm going to start with Ancient Stirrings, and I will be taking Karn Great Creator. Rest of the bottom, any order. Play the tower, and All Is Dust. Now they can field me, and that's going to take up the majority of their turn, and if they do, I can start blowing up permanents with Karn. Or blowing up lands, I should say. So they field our tower. We have no basics to fetch, unfortunately. Thankfully, we do have another land in hand. Opponent plays their Speaker of the Heavens. We draw Karn Liberated, slightly unfortunate. Play a Forest. They're holding Squadron Hawks, and I don't remember what else. Play Great Creator. Let's go ahead and blow up the castle. Pass the turn. I could have animated Liquimetal Coating and had it as a blocker, but I don't think that's good. Opponent plays a Squadron Hawk. It does have Vigilance, so it's a free ping on Karn here. They attack us. Reasonable, I suppose. We untap. We draw All Is Dust. So what do I have? 5 mana or less. I do not have Sky Sovereign. I can play Ensnaring Bridge, but my hand is too expensive. I think the correct choice right now is to just keep upticking. So play Yavimaya, blow up Mistvale Plains, pass the turn. One land gets us to Wurmcoil Engine, which will turn this... Oh no, opponent's holding Winds of Abandon, so I have to keep blowing up lands. We need to get Tower. Okay, Expedition Map is basically a tower, for all intents and purposes. So we get an Urza's Tower, we play an Urza's Tower, we cast All Is Dust, we blow up another land, pass the turn, and now the game's over. Whew! Alright, that was close. Gonna be a tough matchup. I don't know... Let's see, what would they be playing out of the sideboard for Tron? They're already main decking 8 Ghost Quarter effects, which is quite difficult for us to get around. I don't really have anything for that. The artifact, Cauldron, is going to be indestructible, so Force and Wilt don't help here with that. They're unlikely to take Batterskull. I didn't check and see if they had Aether Vial. I could go back and review the footage to see if they did. Maybe, perhaps I want Wilt, like maybe they have swords or something like that. I don't think it's likely. But I think what I'm going to do is drop a Platinum Angel for a Wilt. Or actually both Platinum Angels for Wilts. We've seen our opponent has Winds of Abandon in the main deck. So creature-based win conditions are a lot worse. And Platinum Angel is by far our worst creature win condition. This hand is not keepable. This hand is... I'm going to put back Sylvan Scrying. I did not check... I did not check their deck. I do not know if they have Prismatic Ending. If they do, Expedition Map becomes exponentially worse. But they go Serra Ascendant into Squadron Hawk, reloading their hand. Good old mono-white card advantage. They hit us for 1. We go to 19, they go up to 21. We play a tower, pass the turn. Opponent untaps. They go to combat, attack us for 2. We go down to 17. They play a Stoneforge Mystic, and they go for Cauldron, and they have Ghost Quarter. Okay. So I am going to go for Mine. I'm going to make them crack the Ghost Quarter now. I think that's the correct choice, yeah. We'll go for Mine. And if my opponent somehow does not draw step Ghost Quarter me, which they do, I have no way to use this mana. I could dump it into a Wilt. I don't think that's good. Is it? Is drawing an extra card here useful? No, because it takes me away from like a Sylvan Scrying potentially. Okay, we draw Yavimaya. Play Urza's Mine. Play Chromatic Star. Pass the turn. And I am going to draw Step Surgical Ghost Quarter. Okay. Opponent activates Stoneforge Mystic in response. They have a Batter Skull in hand, along with an Abiding Grace, a Path, a bunch of Squadron Hawks, and another Stone. So we are going to get smacked with what's on board here. Now I could keep Wilt for Batter Skull, but I think unless I draw... Actually, do I need to keep Wilt for Batter Skull? I actually think I need to draw 4 mana Karn and put out an Ensnaring Bridge, so I actually need to cycle this Wilt if I want to live. Batter Skull is like the least of my concerns. Tron. And we get a Chromatic Star. We get a Warping Wail. Warping Wail technically keeps me alive for a turn. Play a Forest. Pass the turn. But even if I survive this turn, I don't think I have a top deck that wins. And I don't, because my opponent drew Martyr of Sands. So they're going to gain enough life to turn on Serra Ascendant, because they're going to reveal like 6 cards. And we die. Alright. Alright. On to game 3. Okay. Did we learn anything new? No. And yes, I think Surgical is better than Platinum Angel in the opener here. Natural Tron withdraws, so we are on the play. I am going to keep this. The only thing that gets sincerely bad feeling about this is if my opponent, like, Ghost Quarter into something, you know, before we can do anything. Okay, we drew Karn Liberated, which is good. Sack Star for green, we get a Power Plant. Play a Mine. Do I want to Sylvan Scrying for, like, a Blast Zone? I don't think so. I'm going to play a Sphere and immediately sack it. Okay, we draw a redundant Mine as well. So this way, if we get Ghost Quartered, we'll still have a Scrying. Damping Sphere. I knew bringing in the Wilts was a good idea. We draw a Wurmcoil Engine. So we'll play Yavimaya and Sylvan Scrying. I'm going to go get Blast Zone. Pass the turn. I mean, we have enough lands. We can make the land drops if we have enough time. The question is whether or not we will have enough time. Opponent hits us for 1. They gain 1. And looks like they're going to field us, maybe. They're going to save field for Blast Zone, perhaps. Nope, they're just going to field right away. Okay. We get a Forest. They play Thraben Inspector. We untap. We draw Chromatic Star. I could play Blast Zone and crack it, but that favors them. I'm going to play a Tower. We are going to cycle this Chromatic Star and hope to draw anything we can play. Sylvan Scrying is technically a thing we can play. So I'm going to go get another Tower. Pass the turn. If they have another Ghost Quarter effect, we do have another Forest. They haven't presented some awful clock for us to have to deal with. Okay, opponent plays a Martyr of Sands. So they can start making tokens with the Speaker of the Heavens, because they're going to gain a bunch of life. They reveal Thraben Inspector and Squadron Hawk. They make an Angel. They hit us for 1. I still don't think it's correct to play out this Blast Zone because of Ghost Quarter. Opponent is going to not draw a step Ghost Quarter me for some reason. They could have potentially denied us that Forest if they did. We draw Warping Wail. So, play Power Plant. And we are going to Warping Wail to deal with Speaker of the Heavens. Pass the turn. If we can land Wurmcoil Engine, I guess they could still get us with like a Path to Exile or Winds of Abandon, because they are playing both. They play Castle Ardenvale, which is not one of the 2 white spells we know about. They play Squadron Hawk. They're going to get 3 more Squadron Hawks, and they can play Thraben Inspector, or they can leave up draw off of the Clue token. Okay, they play Thraben Inspector. We get another Clue. We untap. We draw another Power Plant. Play the Power Plant. Play Wurmcoil. Pass the turn. We really gotta hope they don't have a path, because we kind of need this as delay. Opponent cracks a clue token. That's indicative they didn't have a path at least to start. They play a Stoneforge Mystic, which is bad. They're going to go for Batterskull. That tells me that they have a land. They attack us for 5. We take 5. We untap, really hoping for All is Dust. There we go. That's exactly what I was hoping for. We will play Urza's Mine. And then we have to reset the board here. Oh, man. Now we can start gaining our life back. If our opponent has a land, taps out for Batterskull, we can play Karn Liberated and just take it out. They play Field of Ruin. Now they can field me here, which takes me off of 7 mana, but I don't have any more lands. But this prevents them from doing practically anything of any use. So they can play like a Squadron Hawk now. They crack a Clue, then play an Inspector. Interesting. So we draw a Surgical. Let's play Tower. Play Karn Liberated. Get rid of Damping Sphere. And hit them for 6. I guess I should have attacked first, but I'm going to stop on their draw step and Surgical Ghost Quarter. Or actually, am I scared of anything right now that is in their grave? I'm not worried about them gaining like infinite life, so even if they did Martyr Loop, that's not that big of a deal. I can get back to 7 mana even if I do get Ghost Quartered. I think getting rid of Martyr is better. Let's go for Ghost Quarter. Okay, well, they weren't holding any of the things we were expecting them to be holding. Alright, opponent plays Thraben Inspector and Speaker of the Heavens, which they tutored up. They're going to attack Karn for 1. We draw Kozilek. We have no choice but to uptick Karn, so we'll lead on that. And they give us Smuggler's Copter. So play Blast Zone, and we're going to take out the 3 1-drops my opponent has, just because it seems economical. And it allows us to continue actually putting pressure on with Wurmcoil Engine. Now they can attack Karn for 3 and take him to 3. We could use him as a down tick from that position. If we draw our last Urza's Mine, we can play Kozilek, which would be pretty excellent. I think that would guarantee the victory. We are still in a very good position. If our opponent finds a path for this Wurmcoil Engine, it does make our life a lot harder. So opponent plays Stoneforge Mystic. They get Kaldra, and they attack Karn. Okay. We untap. We draw Ancient Stirrings, so lead on Ancient Stirrings. Unfortunately, there is no mine in that pile. There's an Expedition Map, and there's a Warping Wail. If I Warping Wail, they have to draw a land to play Kaldra. If I take Expedition Map, that does get me to 10 mana for Kozilek. That's probably better. Kozilek would then get exiled, though, from combat, unless I down-ticked Karn. I can probably down-tick Karn if I'm casting a Kozilek this turn. So play Expedition Map. Crack Expedition Map. And we will get a Urza's Mine. Play the Mine. See what we draw off Kozilek. And Ugin. I think we are going to down tick on Stoneforge. And then hit them for 6. Because now if they play Kaldra and attack with it, it's like, what does that even do? And if they keep it back on defense, we can just Ugin, get rid of the token, get rid of the Ranger, and everything is fine. Alright. Always a good sign when Tron beats 8 Ghost Quarters deck. And I'll see you guys in round 3. Okay. Welcome to round 3. We are on the play, and this is a mulligan. This is really close, but I think I'm going to keep simply because I do have 2/3 of Tron, a redraw, and the 4-mana threat with 3 lands. Warping Wail, also a little bit of protection, also potentially some acceleration into playing Karn Great Creator on turn 3, just without 7 mana. Opponent leads on Misty Rainforest. Let's see what they get. Hollowed Fountain untapped, and Prismatic Ending on the Chromatic Sphere. So it appears that my opponent is playing a control deck. So what we're going to do is Sylvan Scrying here, and we're going to go get Tower. The reason I did that turn is because if my opponent is a control deck and not Primetime Combo or some other 5-color deck, they're going to have counter spells, and that is our window to potentially cast Sylvan Scrying. If I just played a Tron land and left up Warping Wail, we could potentially be in huge trouble. Never resolving our Sylvan Scrying. Stoneforge Mystic, okay. Well, the good news is I do have Warping Wail. Opponent gets Caldra. We untap and draw Platinum Angel. So play the Tower because our opponent knows about the Tower. Exile, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Flooded Strand. They crack Flooded Strand. They get an island. They play Geist of Saint Traft. That is very interesting. I do not have... I can play Ensnaring Bridge, but my opponent will be able to attack with Geist once and kill Karn. I cannot stop this Geist from attacking, I don't think. I still think our best option is Ensnaring Bridge, despite the fact that Prismatic Ending could kind of ruin our day. This is the only play that forces my opponent to cast a sorcery, if they have it. Because otherwise, in theory, we're going to get empty-handed enough that Geist is not going to be able to attack. Okay, they have Time Raveler, so it doesn't actually matter. So now they can hit us for 2 and kill Karn. Yep, okay. I would really like to draw Tron land and play Kozilek. There's an Urza's Mine. So we can play a Kozilek and draw a bunch of cards to reload. This is also better, like if my opponent had a Force of Negation they were hoping to back up their guys with. Opponent cracks Windswept Teeth, gets a Glacial Floodplain. That's interesting that they're playing Snowlands. Maybe they have the... oh, I can't Surgical on their draw step. I was waiting to Surgical on their draw step. I'm going to Surgical on my own turn to see what they have before I cast any other spells. Opponent just can't beat Kozilek. Kozilek cannot be Prismatic Ending. So, and they used up their Unsummon. Okay, so this is like a 3 or 4 color deck with... I actually don't know. Let me check and see. Okay, let me see if I can find this list. Modern deck. Is it 5 color Omnath? No. Could be Blink. It looks like Blink is generally a Yorion deck. Is Azorius Control playing Stoneforge? They are not. I don't think this would be an Indomitable Creativity deck. Not with Stoneforge, at least. So I actually don't know what my opponent is playing. Surgical's going to come out. I think we're going to bring in Veil instead. I'm going to cut the Platinum Angels. I don't think they're going to do enough. And I'm going to bring in Forces. Kozilek, Ugin, All Is Dust all seem great. So does Wurmcoil. Actually, I'm going to cut 1 Ugin, and I'm going to bring in a Wilt. I'm going to bring in 2 Forces and a Wilt. And I know that seems weird, because Wilt is, in general, worse than a Force. But I kind of want to be able to cast it without having to pitch a card. Force might just be better because I brought in the Veils. I'm not 100% on that, actually. Yeah, this is not a keepable hand regardless. Okay, this is almost a turn 3 Tron. Unfortunately, it is not, and it relies on a card that gets Prismatic Endinged. So we're going to 5. Alright, much better. We'll keep... I'm going to put back Kozilek and Sylvan Scrying. If I draw a green source, Ancient Stirrings is going to be better in most situations. Opponent leads on Waterlogged Grove, Noble Hierarch. They did Mulligan. We're going to lead on map. If they do Prismatic Ending, Chromatic Star, Ancient Stirrings is a great turn 2 follow-up. Opponent plays Windswept Teeth into Stoneforge Mystic, getting Caldra. Attacks us for 1, we go to 19. We draw Karn, Great Creator. Players is mine, pass the turn. So opponent's going to put Caldra into play, and they're going to hit us for 5. Interesting that they decided to tap that way. Trying to think of what that could indicate, why they would do that rather than their land. So we're going to get Tower, untap. We draw Kozilek. So play the Tower, attempt to play Karn, Great Creator. Okay, they fetch for a blue. Is this a counter spell? It is. Okay, so we need to Chromatic Star and Ancient Stirrings our way into a second tower. And we did not get it. We got an Urza's Mine. That will not be enough. I could take a Chromatic Sphere and try an Ancient Stirrings again into a tower next turn. That is not good enough. I need to get down Ulamog. Do I take the Mine? I'm getting hit for 12 over the next 2 turns no matter what. So I can either take map and play map, or I can take mine and play mine next turn. Maybe Sphere is the play. So mine does not guarantee that we can play Ulamog or Kozilek. If I take Sphere and play Sphere and crack it, it gives me 1 extra draw at a tower to play Ulamog, which is better than any other option in this list. So we're going to take Sphere. Rest of the bottom, play Sphere. Because we don't have to cast Ancient Stirrings, right? It's mana neutral as long as you're just cracking it off the board. It's a lot worse if my opponent bounces it or something. Opponent attacks us for 6. We take 6. We go to 7. Untap. We draw Warping Wail. Okay, Moment of Truth. Crack for green. We get a star. Alright. Ancient Stirrings time. Unfortunately, All is Dust is 1 more mana than we have. Gotta take Karn Great Creator. Attempt to play Karn. Gets counterspelled. Then we Warping Wail to kill Noble Hierarch. And we're dead. Alright. Yep. It is playing counterspells, so I'm glad I brought in the Veils. Force of Vigor and Wilt, obviously not very good against an indestructible artifact. I think this is still the correct configuration. I think I would rather play 1 Wilt and 2 Force than 3 Force. 3 Force is potentially good, but I haven't seen any other artifacts yet. I'm just kind of worried about a Damping Sphere. All right, I'll play first. We do have 2 redraws. I think that's pretty sketchy, though. I'm going to mulligan. Double tower, double redraw. I don't think is good enough, so I will be going down to 5. Mine power, Star Sphere, Karn seems good. So we're going to put back Blast Zone and Yavimaya and lead on Power Plant Star. My opponent may immediately Prismatic Ending. They did mulligan to 6. If they do, we at least have this other sphere for backup. Okay, they do not immediately have the Prismatic Ending. That was interesting. They were trying to pay costs with no mana left available. I'm going to force that. Do I care? I'm not going to float this mana because there's no green instant I have. What do they pitch? Ice Fang? This is fine. This is the other reason I always lead on Star over Sphere, by the way. On the off chance it somehow gets naturalized or destroyed rather than exiled, you get to draw a card out of the deal. So I'm just going to let this happen. My opponent gave up 2 cards to give me 1. We drew a Mine. So I'm going to play another Chromatic Star, pass the turn, and I'm going to continue acting like I need this green mana. I guess I could have played out the other sphere there too. Opponent has Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, now I am going to start sacking to draw cards. Expedition map, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, I guess I should have played out both there, because if my opponent was going to go that deep on a force, it's not like they would do it immediately again. So, play a star, or play sphere. Attack for green. Oh my god. Play star. Opponent does find 2nd mana, which is important. 3 mana, they play Geist. They attack us for 2. We draw Sylvan Scrying. So sack for green. We draw Sanctum. Sylvan Scrying. Get a tower. Play tower. Play map. Play sphere. And pass. And now there is a reason that I'm doing this in this order, that I didn't just crack that map, and it's because we're going to need an expedition map, and when we do that, we are going to need Veil of Summer as backup. Okay? Opponent hits us for a lot. I believe a lot actually qualifies as 11 here. I would really like to draw an All is Dust or an Ugin. That would be fantastic. There is an Ugin. So with that being the case, we are going to get another tower here. Oh, actually, I need to go for the Ensnaring Bridge play, which means I think I needed to play the Sanctum there. I did, didn't I? Crap, I got too overeager. Because this, otherwise they can attack with just Geist and deal 7 under Bridge. Oh, did I just screw myself? Hang on. Oh, I may have just screwed myself. Well, they don't have double blue, so it would have to be like a Spell Piercer or Ceremonious Rejection. I can crack Sphere for a redraw. I think I just got to go for the Ugin. Ensnaring Bridge loses to Prismatic Ending. It loses to Teferi. And there's nothing I can really do about either of those. Veil is only good against a counterspell here, and they don't have counterspell mana because of the way that they tapped. So we're going to go for Ugin. Ugin loses to counterspell of some kind. Like, I might get Mana Tithed here, or Spell Pierced, or Ceremonious Rejection. But, like, all of those things I think would be sideboard. And if they had Mana Tithe, they would have already flexed the fact they had Mana Tithe earlier this match. It could be Force of Negation. That would be incredibly unlucky. They would have to have 2 blue cards. It would have to be Force and a blue card in hand. But either line would lose to that, so that's not really worth considering. Well, I guess Karn would not have, but thank God. So they probably just have Icefang Quaddle here. So they're going to float mana, let their board get exiled, and then flash in an Icefang. But we can deal with that. Ephemerate. Ooh, okay. That is not what I thought. Opponent got Sword of Fire and Ice. We exile all the creatures. They don't have anything to ephemerate. They could flash in Icefang in response, but they don't. Opponent plays a Misty Rainforest. They crack it immediately for an island. They play Second Geist. We untap. We draw Chromatic Sphere. Play Sanctum. Now I can play Karn, and I can wish for Wurmcoil and play it with Veil of Summer backup, so I think that's what I'm going to do. I have to downtick Ugin again to deal with this Geist, otherwise I just don't have an answer for it. Play Karn. Wish with Karn. Get Wurmcoil Engine. Play Wurmcoil Engine. Pass the turn. Leaving up Veil of Summer. Because if they try and go for a Teferi bounce, then we just immediately deal with that. There's not a lot that gets them out from double Planeswalker, though. So we are favored here. I don't know what kind of tricks my opponent's going to have. So this must be like a non-Yori and Blink deck if they're playing Ephemerate. Alright, they concede. So that puts us at 2-1 going into round 4, and I'll see you guys there. Alright, welcome to round 4, and this is a mulligan. Could get a little greedy, but I think going to 5 is better. And I think I was right. So we're going to put back Forest and Forest. Opponent leads on Spirebluff Canal into Ragavan. Alright. We draw Sylvan Scrying, so because I'm worried about a counterspell, I'm going to play Expedition Map. If I was not worried about a counterspell, like if I thought my opponent... Like if, for example, they were on Burn and we had this hand, I would have let on Chromatic Sphere, because Sphere into Sylvan Scrying nets me 1 more card, and potentially lets me draw a threat, because I don't have one yet, rather than Expedition Map, where Expedition Map on turn 1 plays around more, like a counterspell as an example. So play a tower, pass the turn. They did exile an Ulamog, so things are not looking good right now. They consider throwing a Polluted Delta into the grave with Dragon's Rage Channeler and a Brazen Borrower. Okay. I am not 100% on what they're on, but it looks like Is It Tempo? They throw away an Unholy Heat. They get a Snow-Covered Island out of exile. They go to combat. Attack us for 5. We go to 13. They exile a Karn Great Creator off the top. So crack Expedition Map. We'll go get Power Plant. Untap. We draw an Ancient Stirrings. So play Power Plant. Tron Assembled. Play Chromatic Sphere. Crack Sphere for green. We get Chromatic Star. Ancient Stirrings. I will take... I'm actually going to take Expedition Map here. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because I can go get Blast Zone. Then I'll use the remaining 2 floating mana to play Chromatic Star and cast my other Ancient Stirrings. Because if I get an Ugin, potentially that's very good. Okay, Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. I'll take Karn Great Creator. Rest to the bottom. Pass the turn. Okay. Opponent untaps. Lightning bolts our face. I might just be dead to a whole bunch of burn. They put Bauble into the grave. We go to 10. They draw. They go to combat. Attack us for 5. take 5, go to 5. They exile a Sylvan Scrying and get a treasure token. They play a snow-covered island. They still have 4 cards left. Crack Expedition Map. Get a Blast Zone. Untap. Draw Power Plant. Play Blast Zone. Play Karn, Great Creator. Red, red, blue. Interesting. So I'm going to wish for, I think, Wurmcoil here. Yeah, we'll get Wurmcoil. Unholy Heat to kill Karn. They Surveil, leaving it on top. Okay. So we're going to wait until at least beginning of combat to crack Blast Zone. Okay. Expressive Iteration, they're going to go digging. It's interesting they cracked all of their treasures. I don't think that was necessary. They get a Bauble. They play Bauble. Okay, they go to combat. They attack for 5. Blow up the dudes. They Bauble our top deck. They play Polluted Delta, and they pass. We untap, they draw a card. We draw Ancient Stirrings. Play a second tower. Play Wurmcoil. Okay, Wurmcoil gets counterspelled. They untap. They dash Ragavan, and we're dead to bolt. So, is the curse real? This is Murktide. Okay. We only have 2 cards left in hand. Maybe, like, Platinum Angel is by far our most fragile threat. And I use the term threat loosely. Play Platinum Angel. Oh my god, they have a counterspell. Oh, or an Unholy Heat, I guess. Yep. Man, that's unfortunate. We were right on the cusp of that game. Opponent got a really fast start, but like we were recovering. Okay, versus like this Izzet deck. So they're gonna have Blood Moon, Force, in addition to whatever's in their main deck. Okay. If that's the case, I do need to bring in the Wilt's, Force of Vigors, and I think I will bring in the Veil of Summers as well. I'm going to take out the Surgicals, going to drop the Platinum Angels because they're too fragile. Kozilek's kind of a pipe dream. All is dust is all is dust. So I'm going to cut and all is dust, and I'm going to cut a Karn. Single target Karn removal is not that great versus a deck that plays several 1-drop threats. Like, it's great if they're only threats of Murktide, because it's one of our only ways to answer a Murktide. But it's also kind of wishful thinking that we're going to get there in the first place. This hand casts Force, which is it. So we're going to mulligan. This is also a mulligan. Going down to 5. We have 2/3 of Tron. We have a Sylvan Scrying hand. I have to put back 2 cards, so I'm going to put back Veil of Summer, and I'm going to put back Ancient Stirrings. And we're going to lead on mine, Chromatic Star. Pass the turn. Hopefully we can get an early Sylvan Scrying off. Hopefully it doesn't get forced. We draw a Forest, so sack Star for green. Draw Blast Zone. Play Tower. Scrying. Get Power Plant. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Scalding Tarn and attacks us for 1. We draw a Veil of Summer, so play Power Plant. Play Chromatic Sphere. Sack Sphere for green. And Warping Wail. Exile Dragon's Rage Channeler. If they have a counterspell, we have a Veil, which would at least cantrip at that point. Okay. Opponent decides not to contest that exile. I mean, like, potentially they could have, like, gotten Delirium in response if they could Thought Scour themselves. Man, that's kind of crazy to me. So, in a deck like this, historically, they would play Thought Scour and mill themselves to try and hit Delirium. I wonder if the selection off Consider is that much more powerful. Because they don't really play anything flashback, right? And they probably assemble Delirium really quickly anyway. Okay, there's the Blood Moon. We draw a Chromatic Star. Play the Forest, play the Chromatic Star. We're going to pass. Opponent does have double blue, which is quite unfortunate. I'm going to save this Chromatic Star in case I draw a Force that I want to hardcast, I guess. We have time. We have as much time as our opponent is willing to waste. Not playing a threat, so play Blast Zone, play Expedition Map. That does guarantee we get to 6 mana. I may actually tutor for a basic forest, simply in the case where I do want to cast a Force of Vigor. If my opponent plays Murktide and has no blue mana at the end of turn, I would Veil just to draw a card. Okay. On their end step, let's go get a forest. We draw a tower. Excellent. I feel like my voice is going now. I'm not sure if I'm talking more than usual or if I just had to talk a lot today. Okay, opponent plays a land. And they cast a Serum Visions. And they pass. We draw Sylvan Scrying. So cast a Sylvan Scrying. Go get a tower. Play it. Pass the turn. I'm going to wait to crack this Chromatic Star until, like, potentially I need to Veil after casting a threat. Okay, opponent is going to dash Ragavan. This is bad because it starts to unlock their blue mana. They get a Chromatic Star off the top of our deck and play it. They play a Flooded Strand, and they are now passing. So now opponent has double counterspell mana. We untap. We draw a Wurmcoil Engine. So play tower. Play Wurmcoil. So say hopefully they don't have double counterspell. They have Spell Pierce. I'm going to crack Star for green and try and draw another Veil. I don't. I cannot pay for this Spell Pierce, unfortunately. We lose Wurmcoil. Pass the turn. I think generally that's a pretty safe play, because if we resolve Wurmcoil against our opponent's deck, they have a huge trouble dealing with Wurmcoil. So they dash Ragavan again. They hit us for 2. Exile an Ancient Stirrings. They could cast an Ancient Stirrings if they wanted to try and hit an island, but they've already played a land this turn. So opponent plays a Murktide. They play Engineered Explosives. They don't have any Artifact Destruction, but they may have a bounce spell. So play Karn Great Creator. I hope they don't have another counter. Subtlety. Oh, man. That probably means I'm dead. So we put Subtlety, or we put Karn back on top of the deck, because we're going to need Ensnaring Bridge. Oh, never mind. Opponent just exiles Karn with Ragavan. We go to 2, so we're dead to Lightning Bolt. Opponent plays my Karn Great Creator, just to flex on us. I guess, yeah, technically I had to bottom that. I didn't even think of it. I totally forgot they had that Ragavan. And that comes from the fact that my attention span is awful. Medically awful. Opponent wishes for Engineered Explosives out of the sideboard. Well, we drew another Karn Great Creator. They only have... Well, I guess they do have 3 colors of mana because of this stupid treasure token. Oh my god. It's not just that they took my Karn and got Engineered Explosives out of the sideboard. It's the fact that Ragavan gave them the 3rd color of mana in addition to the Karn and made that whole play. And there's nothing I can do about it. Like, Ensnaring Bridge lock a player out of the game is not necessarily a fun play pattern, right? But, like, I don't know, I have to hope my opponent doesn't see it? Question mark? Oh, they can't activate the treasure token, and they can't activate it EE. Okay, so Ensnaring Bridge. I can't start blowing up lands, but we are dead to Lightning Bolt. And if they had another counterspell there, we also would have died. So I have to dodge Lightning Bolt, and I have to dodge Counterspell and Archmage's Charm, and I have to stick Platinum Angel to not die to a Lightning Bolt. But then my opponent could just have Unholy Heat plus Lightning Bolt to kill me, or double Unholy Heat because they don't have Delirium. Because I can't attack with Wurmcoil Engine to get out of Bolt range. So Platinum Angel's actually better in the Wishboard right now than Wurmcoil is. And if they had a Lightning Bolt, they wouldn't kill Karn, they would kill me. We're going to animate Ensnaring Bridge. Oh, do they have an Abrade? Or not an Abrade. When does this make sense? When do they have something that affects a creature and not an artifact? Is it double Unholy Heat? So, I want to point out that topping Karn onto my deck is the reason why we're in this position right now. Like, why it's possible for us to maybe win this. Because if we put Karn on the bottom, they would have exiled the Karn on top of our deck, and then we wouldn't have drawn Karn. So then we would have been dead. Which I think is quite ridiculous. Opponent plays Dragon's Rage Channeler. We're at 2 life right now, and so it's like we have a gaping hole in our torso. We're struggling to breathe, and we're in a very bad way. And this Platinum Angel is going to be the cellophane we wrap around ourselves. Hold them organs in, baby, because there is a lot that goes wrong from this position. Oh, man. Because it's a very fragile layer of protection on top of what we got already. So they are going to Unholy Heat Karn, which for some reason they didn't do immediately. Oh, I think because they were hoping to Unholy Heat Ensnaring Bridge. The problem is now, even though I really want to Force of Vigor that Blood Moon, I'm pretty sure that if I do, I unlock my opponent's mana, and then we're in trouble. So opponent has to kill Platinum Angel for sure for us to lose. Because as long as we have that Platinum Angel, we cannot lose the game. They can put our health into the negatives, though. It doesn't stop that. And just we are on life support, and our opponent is struggling to unplug the machine. Alright, opponent animates that Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, they pass. We untap. We draw Karn Liberated. Oh my god, what do we do with this? I think we downtick on Karn Great Creator? Because we need to stop them from animating that bridge into something they can kill. They either need, like, Unholy Heat for Platinum Angel, and then Lightning Bolt... Well, not Lightning Bolt, but Unholy Heat for Platinum Angel, Unholy Heat for Ensnaring Bridge. I guess I could take out Murktide Regent, but I'm still not able to attack for multiple reasons. I could downtick on their island? That doesn't really stop anything. I could uptick on their hand and then try and restart the game. That might actually be my best bet. Is to play Karn and hope desperately that I can restart the game on time. Okay, they have a counterspell. So opponent gets to surveil a card into the grave. Somehow we dodged that counterspell, so they must have just drawn it for the more important spells that we had. Alright, well, pass the turn. Okay. Snaring Bridge reverts back to being just a bridge. They animate the bridge again. We untap to draw another Karn Liberated. Go get him, Karn! Alright. Uptick on our opponent's hand. We gotta go for the restart. I just don't know what else we could do. Pass the turn. Oh, they gave us a Murktide Regent, so they must be looking to end the game here really quickly. I mean, I guess it is only a 3/3, right? Okay, so they shoot the Ensnaring Bridge. This does mean they could, like, attack and kill Karn. They have to kill the Angel, though. They can't not kill the Angel. Of course, when they're drawing, like, 6 cards every turn, because they're, like, double expressive iteration, you know, I guess that's good. So, gone is the hope that we could Karn Liberated our way out of this mess. They put they put Serum Visions in the Exile Zone. They Serum Visions. They get to surveil a Steam Vents into the grave. Then they get to draw a card. Then they get to scry. Man, if I knew they had a Lightning Bolt for Ensnaring Bridge, I guess I would have down-ticked on Murktide. Look at how many cards our opponent is drawing. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, our only hope is that they somehow cannot answer this Platinum Angel. They dash Ragavan. They're going to hit Karn for 8, 9, 10. Just everything at Karn. Alright, Karn dies. They do not get a treasure, and they do not exile a card off the top of our deck. Like, I think I need an Ugin? But that doesn't even do it, because, like, unless I kill Ugin, Ugin cannot kill Murktide. They pick up Ragavan, they draw a card. Platinum Angel. That Cellophane's really doing a number on this cannonball wound. So go to combat. Do they have anything that relates to tapped creatures as opposed to untapped creatures? I don't think so. So hit Karn for 4. They have, like, Brazen Borrower. They have Unholy Heat. They're drawing 9 cards. They're gonna find it. Like, what do you even do? It's just this thought of, like, frantically just wrapping myself in cling wrap to try and not bleed out. It's just such a perfect metaphor for this situation. Yeah, there's the Brazen Borrower. It only took him 14 turns. Oh, God. Yep. I don't know. I think we should have won this one. I think my opponent got lucky. But we'll be 2-2 going into round 5. I'll see you there. I can say I am glad to have a Platinum Angel highlight, though. Because that was a situation under which Platinum Angel is way better than Wurmcoil Engine, which is kind of the card it competes for in slot. You know, when you're hiding behind an Ensnaring Bridge and the Wurmcoil Engine isn't going to be able to attack anyway. Not to mention it wouldn't be able to block if your opponent could attack because they had flyers. And you're sitting in Lightning Bolt range and you desperately need to gain life. Platinum Angel's the way to go. Well, it looks like we're on the play here. 1 lander, we can do better. This isn't better, deck. This is not better.
Going to 5. Tower, Blast Zone, Map, Sphere. Alright. We have a lot of 4s that are way worse. So I'm going to put back All Is Dust. I'm going to put back Blast Zone. I'm still going to lead on Map and just kind of pray for the high side of variance that I draw one of my other 8 Tron lands that I don't have. Alright, pass the turn. See what we're up against. Alright, putting leads on Stomping Ground. Into Arbor. Oh, is this Ponza? Is this actually Ponza? Oh my god. I swear, Ponza could be the most unplayable deck in the metagame. And it could have like a 5% win rate. And it'd just be dead to everything in the format. And as a Tron player, I will never cease to find the person playing Ponza. Oh my god. How? Why? Oh, why does this happen to me? Is this punishment for my trophy? Oh my god. Play another expedition map. Pass the turn. Yeah. I was gonna say, I wonder how Ponza's doing right now in the metagame, but I remembered I'm 2-2, so my opponent's probably 2-2, so probably about as good as I am. So, I think a lot of people, I think nobody talks about this anymore, but there's a big reason why Ponza is way worse now than it ever was before. Even though, like, besides the fact the deck didn't change, it got worse. And it didn't get worse because of the metagame either. That is an important distinction. The deck got worse over time without the metagame changing, even though it naturally did, and without getting any really good upgrades, which is one reason why it got worse. The deck got worse because the mulligan rule changed. And a lot of people did not notice this, but I'm going to go for Wurmcoil. They're just going to have a tough time with that. The deck got worse because the mulligan rule changed. So, under the previous mulligan rule, you started with, 7, and then you mulliganed, and so you shuffled that hand of 7 back in, and you drew 6 instead. And then, you didn't like that. You shuffled that hand of 6 back in, and you drew 5. When they switched to whatever the current mulligan rule's name is that I never remember the name of, it decreased the amount of mana screw basically to 0. And Ponza was a deck that got free wins off of mana screw. Because it was like, I need 3 lands to win, I can kind of function off 2. Ponza's like, well, now you have to deal with functioning off of 1. And if they just never drew that land, or they drew that land at an inopportune time, or their deck was an inconsistent deck, they just lost. So we're going to play Wurmcoil, pass the turn. Hoping to follow this up with an All Is Dust, that'd be sick. We do get a redraw to try and find a land. But the mulligan rule change made Ponza, it made, I'm not blocking that, like Smallpox and Loampox and all them, way worse. This opponent evokes Fury to deal 4 damage, and then bolts Wurmcoil. So now they are out of cards in hand. If we draw a land, we wipe the board. Okay, we did not draw land. Ancient Stirrings, let's try and find a land. We do. Play the Forest. Play Karn. Wish. Get... I actually am going to put Chalice on 1. They have a lot of 1-mana spells that are good. One of which is Lightning Bolt. Okay, opponent plays a land. But I think that the mulligan rule change is a underappreciated factor for why Modern feels so different. Another one of the things that I've really complained about a lot when I'm not having fun playing Modern is the fact that Modern Horizons 2 and Modern Horizons 1 printed individually very high power level cards into Modern. It's something I've said numerous times. I'm not here to rehash the argument. But one thing that I think I haven't thought about, and I think a lot of people haven't thought about, is the fact that the London Mulligan. I think the most recent one, lets you get to your more powerful cards more consistently. So, like, this is a keep, by the way. I'm going to put back Karn Liberated here. So, like, when War of the Spark printed the 3-mana Planeswalkers like Teferi, and when they had Modern Horizons shortly after that, the landscape of the format changed a lot. But we also got the Mulligan right before that time, I think. It's late, and I'm not good on history for the game exact timeline anyway. But the latest Mulligan rule helps you get to your most powerful cards easily, and it punishes decks that don't play those cards. So, like, if you think about it like this, like, if you're playing Burn, every single card in your deck is a Lightning Bolt. It's like 1 mana, 3 damage, right? Well, it may not be anymore, but the concept is still the same. The quantity of cards you have matters more than the individual cards in a deck like Burn, where every extra card you can get through whatever mechanism is it makes you stronger, if that makes sense. Decks like the Is It Tempo deck that we keep running up against are the opposite. They are the most powerful when they lead on Dragon's Rage Channeler or when they lead on Ragavan. And the London Mulligan almost guarantees them a hand that has, like, land, 1-drop, anything to follow it up with. And they can function off less cards. So we are going to get to Sylvan Scrying here. And we will assemble Tron, unless my opponent, of course, has a Stone Rain, which is possible. Blood Moon here would be okay, because we have Wilt. Opponent plays a Stomping Ground tapped. They play a Void Mirror. Yeah, that Void Mirror is actually a pretty big punishment here, because I did not get a Chromatic Star out early enough. Draw an Ugin. So, okay, pass the turn. I actually think I need to cycle this Wilt now. I know that Wilt deals with Void Mirror, but so does practically anything in our hand if we draw colors of mana. And we desperately need to draw any color of mana. So I am going to cycle this Wilt. So this is one place where Wilt is better than Force. We get a Warping Wail. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. So normally, Void Mirror is not really that big of a problem, because most people who play Void Mirror against Tron will play Void Mirror like the turn after you play a Chromatic Star, or the turn after you play an Expedition Map. They'll play it right on turn 2. And so you generally can respond and adapt your strategy, and they have to take a turn off of, if they're like a deck like Ponza as an example, they have to take a turn off of being aggressive. All right, we lost. We actually lost to Void Mirror. We were going to lose to Ponza anyway, but Void Mirror is in general not that good against Tron. Because, like, if we start on Expedition Map and they turn 2 Void Mirror, it's like, well, or if they go first and then they turn 2 Void Mirror, our turn 2, and we lead on Expedition Map, we can just Expedition Map for Yavimaya and we're totally fine. I am going to keep this. We have a bunch of redraws. We do have colored mana in the event we draw, or in the event we get Void Mirrored. We should be able to continue casting some spells. So, like, the last Mulligan rule change, it definitely decreased the amount of non-games, which is, I think, a good thing overall. I think every game where people aren't playing Magic is a bad game of Magic. But I think because my opponent has or potential for Void Mirror here, we're going to play in a slightly weird sequence. I'm going to take a land over no land, but then I am going to play this Chromatic Star. Pass the turn. I want to make sure that I have a star on board basically this entire game if my opponent is going to have Void Mirror. But yeah, that Mulligan rule, decreasing the number of non-games, I think is a good thing. The problem is it made certain decks completely unviable, and it makes the consistency of games the same. So, what do I mean by that? For the longest time, when Wizards of the Coast would talk about the modern ban list as an example, like Ponder and Preordain are on that list because they make games too consistent. and in specific, they make games too consistent for one color of Magic, which is blue. They're incredibly powerful card selection tools, and that's basically been their excuse, is they make too many games turn out the same when you have that level of card selection. So they didn't want good cantrips in Modern. Okay. Whether or not you agree with that, that's not my concern here. But that was their logic. The thing that I think is funny is they say that, and then they go and frickin' they make the London Mulligan, which is just like the ultimate consistency tool, right? Okay, I think I have to Wilt Void Mirror as much as I don't like it. As much as I don't like the play, not that I don't like Void Mirror. I could cast Ancient Stirrings here, but I would be hoping to hit Yavimaya, which is unlikely. So I need to deal with that. If my opponent has Blood Moon, I can Force of Vigor to deal with Blood Moon. So it's interesting that for the longest time their ban list decisions were judged by, we don't want every game to turn out the same, and then implement this massive, massive consistency shift. It's just interesting that those two things can be opposed that way. Their logic can swing so wildly. I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination I think Ponder or Preordain could be in this format. I think they are a little bit too good. Alright, well this is not going well for me. And it's not like blue needs help. Especially not after they printed crazy blue planeswalkers and crazy free counter spells. Alright, opponent plays Fury. We basically are on top deck Mine or Bust. Or top deck Tower or Bust. Because we have to Ugin. 100% we have to Ugin. Yeah, that's not a tower. And that isn't either. Alright. Well, we get half our entry back. A little bit of a stranger video today. I didn't talk strictly Magic. In fact, I talked about a lot of things that weren't Magic. So if you stuck around this long, hey, I really appreciate it. You're a wonderful human being, and I appreciate your support. You know, I'm happy to be making these videos, and I'm still enjoying myself doing it. Like I said at the whole beginning rant of this video, I just need to be kinder to myself and actually relax. I need to get up away from this desk for things that are not heavy physical activity, and just give my brain a rest. I need to give my brain and body a rest. So I'm going to be focusing on doing that. You know, if you're in the States, I hope you have a happy Thanksgiving this week. I'm going to try and get a few videos recorded. I am still going to stream on Wednesday. I stream Wednesdays in the afternoon or the evening. Generally, it's around 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Usually, I've been doing it a little bit earlier. And, yeah, you're all wonderful human beings, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Hey, just wanted to give a shout out to my patrons for the month of November. Thank you all so much, and if you guys want to see your name on this list, please check the link in the description below. Thank you.